Born on August 30th, 1930, Warren Buffett is an American investor, philanthropist, and business magnate. He is currently working as the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. Having a net worth of $117 billion, Buffett is considered the most successful investor in the world. He is also counted on the list of the top 10 wealthiest people in the world. Warren Buffett is known for his leadership of Berkshire Hathaway along with Charlie Munger. Buffett has been the largest shareholder and the chairman of Berkshire Hathaway since 1970. Global media refers to Warren Buffett as the Oracle or Sage of Omaha. Omaha is the birthplace of Buffett. He's famous, among others, for the value he pays towards investing.
In investing, there's no called strikes. People can throw Microsoft at me and you name it, any stock, General Motors, and I don't have to swing. And nobody's going to call me out on called strikes. I only get a strike called if I swing at a pitch and miss. So I can wait there and look at thousands of companies day after day, and only when I see something I understand and when I like the price at which it's selling, then if I swing, if I hit it, fine. If I miss it, it's a strike.
And his down-to-earth nature despite all the wealth owned by him. Buffett is a famous philanthropist who has given away 99% of his wealth for philanthropic causes through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Warren Buffett is also credited for the foundation of the Giving Pledge along with Bill Gates in 2009. Under this foundation, billionaires pledge to give away 50% of their fortunes. There are certain protocols that Warren Buffett adopted as a part of his life to make things easier and to page the oath of his success. These things tell us a lot about him. Let's get a deeper understanding of his mantras for life and how he plans to gain success. Number 1. Fortune always favors the bold. In 1951, when Buffett was a young boy, he boarded a train to Washington, D.C. and reached the doors of the headquarters of a company, Geico, where his investing hero and mentor, Benjamin Graham, was working as the chairman. His sudden arrival resulted in a 4-hour-long lecture on investment from a top executive who later became the CEO of a big company. This tutorial lecture strengthened the relationship between Buffett and Geico. Today, the company Geico is owned by Buffett and the interests of Berkshire are the crown jewels. If Buffett would not have the audacity to reach the headquarters of Geico, none of this would have happened. Your bold moves can help you achieve things that you never imagined. You need to be bold and upfront while working towards achieving a goal. Number 2. Only believe the things that you see with your own eyes. Buffett mentioned a quote from Henry David Thoreau, "It's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see," in one of his Berkshire letters. Buffett spent decades looking at the success of the Coca-Cola Company. The very first hustle taken up by Buffett involved buying 6 packs of Coca-Cola, dividing them, and then attempting to sell them at a time. He also mentions how he's a huge fan of the company and consumed 5 cans of the drink every day. When Buffett turned 52 in 1988, he mentioned how he was keen to invest in the Coca-Cola Company. He mentioned that if he would have been thinking straight, he would have persuaded his grandfather to see their grocery store in 1936 and put all the money into the stocks of Coca-Cola.
On the Bank of America, and I form an opinion on Coca-Cola. I mean, Coca-Cola's been around since 1886. There's 1.8 billion 8-ounce servings of Coca-Cola products sold every day. Now, if you take 1 penny and get 1 penny extra, that's $18 million a day. And 18 million times 365 is 7 billion, 3 less 730 billion, or $6,570,000,000. So annually, $6,570,000,000 from 1 penny. Do you think Coca-Cola is worth a penny more than,
Number 3. Measure things to improve them. There is a strange record about Buffett. He has been holding all the records of his federal tax that he has been filing since 1945, when he was just 13 years old. This might sound strange and absurd to many people, but when you will acknowledge the reason behind this, you will understand the thoughtful behavior of Warren Buffett. This way, he can tell you about the times he purchased or sold the shares of Geico and invested his money at some other places. This way, he can always track the amount of money he has put in different places, getting easy access to his profits and losses. Although many people find it unusual, it was quite thoughtful of Warren Buffett to keep all his records available at hand so that he can access them as and when required to analyze his investments, shares, profits, and losses. Number 4. Never be afraid to accept your mistakes. Your mistakes are the stepstones towards your success. The mistakes that you make do not define you. Rather, they help to pave the path towards your success and help you to learn and improve. Buffett mentioned his $11 billion write-downs after he overpaid for a company. The fact that he accepted the mistake that he made isn't the fact here. It is how he put it into words. His lines were, "I made a mistake in 2016. No one misled me to do so. I was just too optimistic." You'll be surprised to know that Buffett has the habit of owning up to his mistakes all the time. Sometimes he even says that buying Berkshire was a costly mistake committed by him.
But buying Berkshire Hathaway itself was a mistake because Berkshire was a lousy textile business. And I bought it very cheap. I'd been taught by Ben Graham to buy things on a quantitative basis. Look around for things that are cheap. And that I was taught that, we'll say in 1949 or 50. It made a big impression on me. So I went around looking for what I call used cigar butts of stocks. And the cigar butt approach to buying stocks is that you walk down the street and you're looking around for cigar butts and you find this on the street, this terrible looking, soggy, ugly looking cigar, one puff left in it. But you pick it up and you get your one puff. It's disgusting, you throw it away, but it's free. I mean, it's cheap. And then you look around for another soggy, one puff cigarette. Well, that's what I did for years. It's a mistake.
He also owned up to his mistake of holding his textile business for a long time. Although people only have an idea about the mistakes he owns up to, the fact that he accepts them and takes full responsibility for his mistakes is something you will always like about him. Number 5. Don't make things seem harder than they are. This statement is also a supporting statement for the one that says never be afraid to accept your mistakes. Warren Buffett learned from his mistakes to not make things harder than they seek to be. You may complicate things while thinking that they are harder than they are. This statement comes from the reference of all the calls that came to him for shutting Berkshire's textile mills, which he eventually ignored until the next 20 years. He finally made a call in 1980. Shutting down Berkshire textile mills was a tough call, and hence he hesitated to make the decision. He made things more difficult than they were. Number 6. Take the risk to be different. You don't need to be a part of the crowd or do something simply because others are doing it. Be brave enough to make unique choices. When Warren Buffett started managing money in 1956, he was dubbed by an oddball. He worked in Omaha and refused to tell his parents where he was putting his money. Many people predicted that he would fail terribly. But 14 years later, when he closed his partnership, he had more than $100 million. He could have easily followed the crowd, but instead, he chose his path. He invested in undervalued investments and beat the market average every year. According to Warren Buffett, you are average if you are doing what everyone else is. To be above average, you need to rise above all and do something that most people will not do. If you will not take the risk of being different, you will end up becoming like everyone else, and that should never be your goal. Number 7. Keep a check on small expenses. Warren Buffett has worked with managers cribbing over the tiniest expenses. He once had the experience of working with a company where the owner counted the sheets in a roll of 500-sheet toilet paper to see if he was getting cheated. On counting, he realized that he was. While others would have called him a fool, in the beginning they realized that counting on such a tiny thing made him realize that he was getting cheated on, and he would have saved a lot of money. Another incident that happened with Warren Buffett was when one of his friends painted on only one side of his office that faced the road. On confrontation, he accepted that he had painted the side of the building that everyone sees, and that's enough. Hence, it is proved that by cutting the cost of small expenses, you end up making huge profits that you may not realize at the very moment, but over the years, it will all make sense. Number 8. Limit the amount of money that you borrow. Even though you may have credit cards and loan lenders all around you, you should never go way beyond your limits to purchase anything. Relying on credit cards and loans will never make you rich. Rather, they will drag you into a never-ending loop of loan repayment. Warren Buffett always stuck with his principles. He never borrowed a significantly large amount for any cause, be it mortgage or for investment. He has come across many people who initially thought that they would be able to repay the debt but ended up borrowing so much that they were overwhelmed by the debt. He advises people to negotiate with creators as much as they can. When you are free of any debt, you can use the money available at hand for saving and investing and make the best use of your money. Number 9. Know the real meaning of success. Despite the large amount of wealth that he owns, Warren Buffett has never measured his success by his bank balance. In 2006, Warren Buffett pledged to give away all his life earnings in charity by linking up with the Bill and Melinda Foundation. He proudly says that he has never got any monument built for himself. You can easily spend your money on building hospitals and dinner halls and restaurants in your name, but there will be people all around you who will hate you. What's the point of all this wealth when you are unable to find people around you who love you and cherish your presence? According to Warren Buffett, the real success of a person can be calculated by analyzing the total number of people who love them. If you have lots of wealth, but there isn't a single genuine person in this world who loves you or cares for you, your wealth holds no meaning. Warren Buffett is a famous personality who has built his name on the stepstones of honesty and hard work. His life stories are motivational, and there are a lot of things that you can learn by keen observation and following his examples. He has learned the lessons in his life by learning from his mistakes and adapting certain principles and always following them. There is something about these people who make it to the top of the world, something about their way of dealing with things, something about the way they perceive the situations in life, and something about the way they handle the situations that they come across. We may always look up to these people for motivation and life lessons. We should listen to their stories and their lessons, because there is no way better than learning by listening to somebody's experiences.